I sat in the conference room with my coffee, ready for another Monday meeting. My boss, Marcus Whitfield, slid a folder across the table. "We're restructuring your department," he said. "Your position is eliminated. Effective immediately." The room went silent. Three managers I trained stared at their screens. Marcus wouldn't look at me. HR pushed severance papers toward me. Just 2 weeks' pay.
My hands shook as I signed.
But I knew something they didn't. 3 months ago, when our company was dying, I had rebuilt our entire vendor system. I made myself the only administrator with full control over $40 million in annual contracts. I never told anyone. I watched Marcus smirk and say, "Don't worry, we've got your systems covered." He had no idea. I looked up with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "Good luck with the Johnson account, Marcus," I said. "You'll need it." My name is Erica Jones, and I walked out with my check, but I kept the keys to their kingdom. What did I know that they didn't? Everything. 8 months earlier, I discovered our company was $2 million in debt to vendors. We faced total collapse. Marcus panicked, drinking at his desk, telling me to find a miracle. I worked 72 straight hours rebuilding our vendor contract system. I created a new vendor management protocol that put all payments, approvals, and access under one administrative umbrella. In my exhaustion, I made myself the sole administrator, not to be mean, but because I was the only one who understood the code. I told Marcus it was redundancy-proofed. He signed without reading. I never mentioned the administrative lock I built in. Back in the present, I walked to my car and opened my laptop. The dashboard still showed me as active administrator. I didn't close it. I took screenshots. I had access to everything: their money, their vendors, their lifeline. Erica Jones still held the power, and I sat there breathing hard. Realizing I held their future in my hands, I learned the truth through bitter office gossip. My former assistant, Priya, called me crying. The restructuring was a lie. Marcus needed to cut my $85,000 salary to cover his own bonus shortfall. Worse, he had been telling our CEO that Erica Jones made the accounting errors causing our vendor debt. He set me up as the scapegoat for months. The final cruelty: they promoted my trainee, Brad, to my position at $60,000, expecting him to maintain systems he didn't build. I sat in my dark apartment filing for unemployment, realizing this wasn't business. It was personal. Marcus humiliated me to save himself. I opened the vendor dashboard again. 40 million in annual contracts. 47 vendors. One administrator. I created a new folder on my desktop labeled Evidence. I wasn't going to destroy them yet. I was going to watch them fail first. I wanted to see Marcus sweat, to see Brad drown, to see them realize what they had thrown away. For 2 weeks, I watched from outside. Brad was drowning, vendors calling about unpaid invoices, the system glitching because he lacked admin access to release payments. Marcus covered up the problems, lying to our CEO that it was just transition turbulence. I received a frantic text from Marcus. "Hey, can you consult for a few hours?" Paid. I ignored it. Instead, I documented everything: screenshots of system errors, vendor complaints forwarded to my personal email, Marcus's desperate voicemails. I built a timeline of their incompetence. I also started job hunting, not from desperation but strategy. I needed leverage. I landed an interview with a competitor, Vantage Logistics, for a director position. They wanted Erica Jones specifically for my reputation with system architecture. While my old company sank, I rose. But would I help them before they crashed completely? That was the question. Part of me wanted to save the colleagues I cared about. Another part wanted to let Marcus burn. Vantage offered me the director role, $120,000, signing bonus, full benefits. Their CEO, Eleanor Vance, took me to lunch and asked why I left my previous job. I told the truth. I was terminated so my boss could protect his bonus. I built the systems that kept that company alive, and they threw me away. Eleanor studied me carefully. "And how do you feel about that, Erica?" I smiled. Motivated. Meanwhile, my old company hemorrhaged money. 3 major vendors paused shipments due to non-payment. Marcus called me 3 times in one day. I answered the third call, let him beg for just an hour of your time, then said, Marcus, I signed my exit paperwork. I'm not your employee anymore. I hung up. That night, I received an email from my old company's CEO, Richard Holt, personally requesting a meeting. Subject line: Urgent. Vendor crisis. The CEO himself was getting involved. I walked back into my old building through the executive elevator. Richard Holt was 60, shrewd, and had built the company from nothing. He didn't know about the layoff drama. Marcus told him Erica Jones resigned abruptly. I sat across from Richard and saw the truth. The company was 72 hours from total operational shutdown. Vendors threatened lawsuits. Richard offered me a consulting rate, $500 per hour, to fix the transition issues. I opened my laptop. I showed him the admin dashboard, my name still listed as sole administrator. I showed him the vendor management protocol he signed off on 8 months ago. I showed him Marcus's signature approving the administrative structure. Richard turned pale. Why didn't you mention this? I replied calmly, I was terminated before I could transition anything. Your VP told me you had it covered. I watched realization hit him. Marcus lied to everyone. I didn't ask for my job back. I asked for something better. A 6-month system transition and audit contract at $15,000 per month, full access to all financial records, and a written recommendation from Richard personally. Plus, I wanted to present my findings to the board about operational vulnerabilities. Richard agreed to everything. He had no choice. But I added a final clause. I work remotely. I don't report to Marcus. I report directly to you. When I left, I passed Marcus in the hallway. His face cycled through shock, rage, and fear. You witch, he whispered. I kept walking. Check your email, Marcus. Richard just copied you on my consulting agreement. Erica Jones was back in the building, but now I had more power than my old boss ever had. Marcus couldn't touch me, couldn't fire me, couldn't even request meetings with me without Richard's approval that I didn't fix the systems immediately. I audited them. I discovered Marcus's embezzlement scheme, small amounts, $2,000 to $5,000 monthly, funneled through fake vendor accounts. He stole $180,000 over 2 years. I found emails where he instructed Brad to lose vendor payment records. I documented his drinking, his harassment of female staff, 3 formal complaints buried by HR, and his drug habit charged to the company card. I worked from coffee shops, building a dossier. Meanwhile, the company stabilized. I released vendor payments slowly, keeping them hungry but functional. Marcus tried sabotaging me, deleting files, spreading rumors that Erica Jones was hacking the system. Richard called me in. Marcus says you're holding the company hostage. I opened my folder. Richard, can I show you what I found? I was about to expose everything. Richard watched my presentation. Marcus's theft, the cover-ups, the setup to frame Erica Jones for accounting errors. He looked destroyed. Marcus was his protege, his friend. I didn't gloat. I said, I loved this company too. I gave it everything. And he used me to cover his crimes. Richard made a choice. He asked me to stay quiet for 2 more weeks while he handled things. I agreed, but made backup copies of everything, sending them to my personal cloud with date stamps. I knew how these things went. Meanwhile, I started mentoring Priya and other former colleagues, teaching them the systems, building loyalty. If the company fell, I wanted my people protected. Richard called an emergency board meeting. I wasn't invited. What was he planning? I wondered if he would actually fire Marcus or just protect him. Old loyalties died hard. Marcus was suspended with pay pending investigation. The office buzzed with cautious congratulations. People thought Erica Jones tattled and got him fired. But I checked the admin systems and saw Marcus still had remote access. Richard was protecting him, planning a quiet exit with a golden parachute. I realized Richard cared more about avoiding scandal than justice. I received a call from Marcus's lawyer, a cease and desist, threatening to sue me for defamation and system intrusion if I didn't turn over all admin access immediately. They were trying to scare me, make me look guilty. I laughed. Then I made a decision. I was done playing nice. I called a number I'd had for weeks. Eleanor? It's Erica. I think I'm ready to discuss that other opportunity. I accepted the director position at Vantage, but negotiated a delayed start date of 3 months so I could finish consulting obligations. I now had 2 full-time executive salaries. At my old company, I continued the audit, but now I was also gathering intelligence for Vantage. I learned my old company was bidding on a massive government contract, the Trans-Global Freight Initiative, worth $200 million over 5 years. I saw their bid proposal. It was built on my systems, my efficiency models, my vendor relationships. And it was full of lies about their stable operational infrastructure. I copied everything. At Vantage, Erica Jones built a competing bid, honest, robust, and 15% cheaper, because I knew exactly where my old company was inflating costs. I anonymously leaked Marcus's embezzlement records to an industry whistleblower blog. Not everything, just enough to make the story undeniable. The scandal broke. Stock dropped 12%. Government contract reviewers took notice. Richard called me, screaming, "Did you do this?" I played innocent. "Richard, I've been locked out of half the systems since the lawyer's letter. How could I leak anything?" The truth, I leaked it weeks ago, scheduled for automatic release. Marcus was fired publicly, escorted out by security. But here's the twist. Richard announced he was stepping back for health reasons and promoting his son, Trevor, to acting CEO. Trevor was 28, arrogant, and hated Erica Jones because I once corrected him in a meeting. He called me. "Your contract is terminated." I agreed to the transfer. I scheduled a system handover meeting with Trevor and the new IT director. I walked them through the vendor management protocol, but I didn't mention the embedded failsafes. 3 layers of authentication required my biometric approval for any major changes. I told them it was standard security. They didn't understand enough to question it. I transferred administrative credentials that were technically correct but functionally limited. I signed their termination release. As I left, I handed Trevor a thumb drive. Emergency backup protocols. Only use if the system crashes. He smirked. "We won't need your help anymore, Erica." I smiled. "I hope you're right." The thumb drive contained a time-delayed virus that would activate in 30 days. I started at Vantage as director of operations. I was brilliant, transformative, loved by my new team. Erica Jones forgot about revenge for a moment. I was happy. But then I got a call from Priya, crying. Trevor had cut everyone's benefits, doubled workloads, and fired 3 of my old team for insubordination when they asked for training on the new systems. The company was toxic, bleeding talent. Worse, Trevor found the government contract bid from Vantage and was accusing me of corporate espionage. He found my old login access the files months ago. He threatened to report me to the FBI unless I withdrew Vantage's bid. He was turning my victory into a criminal case. I had 48 hours to respond. I didn't panic. I called my lawyer, not to defend, but to attack. I filed a whistleblower complaint with the SEC, documenting my old company's fraudulent government bid. I submitted proof that Trevor knew about Marcus's embezzlement and covered it up to protect his father's reputation. I sent copies to the Government Contract Review Board. I emailed Trevor. "You want to talk about espionage? Let's discuss the $200 million bid you filed using my stolen intellectual property. I have timestamps." He called my bluff. He shouldn't have. The government suspended my old company's bid pending investigation. But Trevor had one card left to play. He leaked a story to the press. Erica Jones was fired for gross incompetence and potential theft, and I was now engaged in a vendetta against a family. The article included an unflattering photo of me and quotes from anonymous former colleagues about me being difficult and paranoid. It was character assassination. My new CEO, Eleanor, called me in. "Is there anything I should know?" I opened my laptop. I showed Eleanor the real story, the embezzlement, the frame-up, the truth. Then I revealed the final piece. Richard Holt didn't just know about Marcus's theft. He participated in it. The father-son duo had been stealing for years. Erica Jones had bank records. Eleanor asked, "Why didn't you go to the police?" I replied, because I wanted to win the right way. But they're not playing by rules anymore. Eleanor gave me permission to do what you need to do. I didn't leak to the press. I went to the board of directors of my old company, the ones who approved my original termination. I presented my case: the thefts, the cover-ups, the fraudulent government bid, the character assassination. I didn't ask for anything. I just informed them that Erica Jones was filing a civil suit for wrongful termination, defamation, and theft of intellectual property, and that the discovery process would require full forensic accounting of the last 5 years. The board panicked. They called an emergency session. I learned through my network that Richard Holt was offering to buy back my silence, $500,000, non-disclosure agreement, walk away. I refused, but I remembered something. During my original 72-hour marathon saving the company, I recorded everything, including a video call where Marcus, drunk and celebratory, admits to cooking the books for years and jokes that Erica Jones is too loyal to ever notice. I buried the file and forgot about it. I found it in an old cloud backup. It was time-stamped, his face clear, his voice unmistakable. I also found an email from Richard, 6 months before my firing, praising my innovative vendor controls and calling me the most valuable employee we have. Proof that my firing was retaliatory, not performance-based. I had them on everything, but I was still not ready to release it. I was waiting for the perfect moment. The old company was dying. Government contract suspended. Stock down 40%. Key vendors leaving. Richard Holt personally came to my apartment. First time I'd seen him look old, broken. He offered me the CEO position. You were always the real leader, Erica. Save us. Name your price. I invited him in, offered him coffee. Then I played the video of Marcus. Richard's hand shook. I played his own email praising me. I showed him the whistleblower complaint already filed with the SEC. Richard, I don't want to run your company. I want you to admit, publicly, that you fired me to cover up theft. That you let your son destroy people's lives. That you were wrong. He refused. Richard threatened me. You'll never work in this industry again. I smiled. I already work in this industry. At the company that's about to replace you. Richard left, defeated. But Trevor was still out there.
And he was dangerous.
Trevor, unhinged, started stalking me. Showing up at my coffee shop, my gym, leaving threatening voicemails. You ruined my family. I'll ruin your life, Erica. I documented everything: security cameras, witnesses, police reports. I didn't engage. I waited. Meanwhile, Vantage won the Trans-Global Freight Initiative, $200 million contract, the largest in their history. Eleanor promoted Erica Jones to VP of Operations. At the celebration dinner, I received a text from an unknown number. Video footage of me entering my apartment building, time-stamped from last night. The message read, "Alone women shouldn't live on the first floor." I didn't call the police. I called a private investigator I knew from my old company, someone who owed Erica Jones a favor. I need everything on Trevor Holt. Every secret, every crime, every vulnerability. He's going to hurt someone and I need to stop him before he does. The PI called back in 24 hours. What he found changed everything. Trevor wasn't just a spoiled rich kid. The PI discovered he'd been accused of assault by 3 former employees, all settled with NDAs. He had a sealed juvenile record for stalking an ex-girlfriend. And most chilling, he'd been accessing my credit reports, my address history, my family's information. I took the evidence to the police, but also to Richard. Not to threaten. To warn. Your son is going to hurt someone. I can stop him, but I need you to help me. Richard broke down. He showed me the real family secret. Trevor killed someone in a drunk driving accident at 19. Richard covered it up, paid millions in hush money. That's why Trevor always got what he wanted. He'd been blackmailing his father for years. Richard agreed to cooperate. Erica Jones and Richard orchestrated a meeting. Trevor was told that I had agreed to drop everything in exchange for a public apology and $2 million settlement. We met in a conference room. Wired with cameras my PI installed. Trevor gloated. He admitted to everything. The stalking, the plans to make Erica Jones disappear, the the way he sabotaged my career because women like you need to learn their place. He signed the settlement agreement, which included a full confession of his crimes, notarized, legally binding. Richard watched from another room, weeping. The moment Trevor signed, police entered. He was arrested for stalking, intimidation, and conspiracy. Richard testified against him. The sealed records were opened. The empire crumbled. But the company was still standing. And I still had one final move to make. With Richard and Trevor facing criminal charges, the board begged Erica Jones to return, not as CEO, but as Chief Restructuring Officer, to liquidate the company ethically. We sat in a diner. He confessed everything, his jealousy of my competence, his fear that I would replace him, the way Richard manipulated him into framing me. I was weak. I was cruel. I destroyed the best thing in my life, your trust, Erica. I listened. I didn't forgive, not yet. But I gave him something, a job lead, a warehouse supervisor position at a small, honest company. You were good at logistics, Marcus. Before you became a thief. Maybe you can be good again.
He cried.
I left. Not for revenge anymore. For closure. I received a call from Eleanor. There's someone here to see you. Says he's from your past. It was Richard Holt, out on bail, awaiting sentencing. He'd come to apologize, but also to give me something, a letter, written in his own hand, admitting everything. I took it. Then I did something unexpected. I offered to testify at his sentencing, not for leniency, but to say that he eventually did the right thing. Not forgiveness. Just acknowledgement that people can choose to be better. The final scene. Erica Jones stood at the window of my new VP office at Vantage, bigger than Marcus's old office, bigger than Richard's. I'd won the government contract, built a team of loyal professionals, and was dating someone who respected my ambition. I received the final paperwork, my civil suit settlement, $1.2 million, which I donated to a nonprofit protecting whistleblowers. I didn't need their money. I had my reputation, my power, my integrity. I opened my laptop, created a new folder, Future. Inside, a document titled Lessons Learned. First line, never give anyone administrative access to your soul. Final line, they thought they were firing an employee. They didn't know they were creating a rival. I saved the file and closed the laptop. The sun set over the city. I had started as a victim, become a villain in their eyes, and ended as exactly who I was always meant to be. Powerful, unstoppable,
Free.